He goes, I want you to captain this tour. And then my wife was in the car at the time, so he was on loudspeaker. And my kids were in the back, and we're like, shh, let's coach on the phone. And then I remember just going quiet, and I just looked at my wife, and I was like, just say what I think he said. And my wife's like, yeah, you got to answer him. And I said no at first.
Right.
Yeah.
Because?
So,
can I ask? Right, kia ora everyone. Welcome to another episode of Find Your Front, the official podcast of NZRL. My name is Cliff Thompson, Wellbeing Manager at NZRL. To my left here is the great one himself.
Talofa, alilo, titi, not the great.
No, bro, you are.
You're the greatest.
Oh, there we go. And that sweet, sultry voice you just heard is our guest today.
Yeah.
And that guest is the beautiful, the handsome, the wonderful, the high-flying, acrobatic Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. Dallin.
Thanks, bro. I've only ever heard my wife call me that. But, thank you.
Sweet.
Well, then I'm an elite company. But nah, brother, really awesome to have you here. Thank you so much for your time, for coming on and talking with us today about all things well-being. Like we said, the show is called Find Your Front, so we want to talk about some well-being stuff. But yeah, bro, look, to ease us in, we're gonna just ask you, man. We know that you're on a number of podcasts and you probably told the story a number of times, so we want to make sure we try not double up too much stuff. Yeah. But what I will ask, I think it's always a good place to start is, man, tell us about where you Whakapapa back to, where your whānau comes from, who you are.
Yeah. I'm Dallin. I was born in Hamilton, Waikato Hospital. I was born in 1995. Moved to Oz when I was 5 in 2000. And just my dad had a good opportunity over there. He thought there was more opportunity for us kids in terms of schooling and those kinds of things. But his job was the main focus while we went over there. And he's seen something for him. So, and it turned out really good for us. I'm one of 6. I've got 5 brothers and sisters. I'm happily married now. I've got a beautiful wife in Purdy and 3 beautiful kids, Orlando, Indigo, and Lola. Nice. And yeah, really loving life at the moment.
Nice, bro. And obviously your whānau roots. So you said, so when you talk about coming from Hamilton, is that where your mum and dad both Whakapapa back to as well?
No, my dad's half Tongan, half Polish. His dad was full blown Polish, spoke it as everything Polish. And my grandma's full Tongan.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to think it was a crazy relationship. My grandpa and my grandma, just in terms of how they communicated, but they found a way. They had 4 kids, and
that's lovely.
Yeah, it's crazy. They it's definitely. It was. I was young when he passed away, but the times I got to see him and my grandma together, it was just crazy how they communicated.
Yeah, wow.
And like you said, it must have been love the way they did. But yeah, my mum's side is Māori, and my nan's got a bit of English in that in her, and they all live in Ngātawa here at the moment.
Oh, nice.
So I get down there quite a bit to see them. And yeah, my koro side is where Grandpa Steve is from. Steve Watene, who played for captain and played for the Kiwis, and sort of he was the one who put our name on the map, kind of awesome, thing. Bro. So we've been trying, or my uncles and cousins, and they've been trying to sort of replicate what he did.
Yep.
And he's given us good legacy to try and live up to, which is pushed me quite a bit in terms of not just doing it for myself, but for other reasons as well. But yeah, and he's another reason why what pushes me and what motivates me. So just trying, I guess, one up your grandfather would be your great grandfather would be nice, bro. But yeah, he set a pretty high bar that I don't think can be met.
It's cool, bro. And you mentioned Ngaruawahia. Some nice cafes popped up there recently, bro. It's on the up, eh?
Yeah, I don't really know much about the cafes down there, but the bakeries, yes. There's a couple of bakeries that are
staples of the Waikato.
Yeah, like they say you remember a lot when you through taste. So when I go back and I get to have a steak and cheese pie or a meat and cheese pie, man, it just brings back so many memories.
That's true for us, bro.
Right next to the train bridge where all the kids jump off. Yeah.
Remember lots through taste. I like that, bro. Make memories through food. So you mentioned about moving over to Oz. Your father takes you guys over, his mahi, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
How does that bring you into you'll start with rugby league in sport?
Yeah, so so back here my grandparents have a club. They still do now. It's still going. Yeah. Now I've signed my son up, so any weekend I get off, he'll be going down there playing for college old boys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they're a team in Hamilton. They're a lot smaller now. I played a few games there. But yeah, that's where my love for footy sort of started. Because I was young, I didn't really know much about my uncles and my grandfathers who had gone on and played. But what I got to sort of fall in love with the game was to play with my cousins. I have a lot of cousins and friends down in Hamilton, and I got to play alongside them, and that's sort of what gave me the love for it. And then we moved to Oz when I was 5, so I started playing at 3 there. I moved to Oz when I was 5, and I played for a junior club called St. Clair Comets out Western Sydney ways. Right. And yeah, again, I got to play with my mates at school. We went to school together. We trained together Tuesday, Thursday nights, played together on the weekends. And that's sort of what kept me playing footy, was just the memories I was making with my mates. Some of my best memories are still from under 9s to under
boys,
under 16s. Yeah, all my mates. And,
so you St. Mary's?
Yeah. So I started at St. Mary's because that's where we lived, at St. Mary's. And then when we moved to St. Clair, the local team was obviously St. Clair, so it was a lot easier for my parents to get us. Well, there was 6 of us that were all doing sports, so there was only one Tarago going around. So my parents, the closer we were that we could walk to training or bike to training was better, and we ended up being St. Clair from under 9s to then. Yeah, some of my best memories in footy. I still keep in contact with some of those boys. We have a group chat.
Well, that's what makes sport special, though,
yeah.
Right? It's social.
Yeah.
It connects us. It's the friendships. And it doesn't matter who we talk to that sits on that couch.
Yeah.
It's the lasting memory, because we talk from guys that have retired 10 years ago now. They talk about it's the lasting relationships that they've had through sport, and whether it's footy.
I had I went to a school, Holy Spirit, as well. We all went to the same school. It was just it was mad, yeah. Sometimes going back there when you don't have really responsibilities is pretty nice. And, but yeah, I love life now. But back then it was a lot easier.
And also they keep it real, and then you can have a banter, have a laugh. Yeah. But also, I'm sure your boys are also the other part is that if you were going through a tough time, I'm sure they'll reach out and help you out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they always, you can always count on them.
Count on them and stuff.
To be honest, I'm probably the one who, because my schedule's so full, I've got kids and that now, my in terms of staying in contact with them gets hard.
Yep.
Not because I don't want to, it's just life gets hectic. You meet so many people on the way, and it's not that you forget them, but you're just you forget to keep in contact sometimes, but then they message and you're like, oh, sorry, bro, I've been full on. It's good to chat to you, see how you are. Yeah, but
I think that's just the product of the reality of, you're at a stage of life now where it is busy. You've got a young family, you're coming into the prime of your sporting career, and it's just one of those seasons, right, where there's a lot to on that. How does Dallin carry the busyness of his schedule?
Yeah, I'm still working that out at the moment. I'm still getting things wrong, in terms of, I have this thing I spoke on a podcast before about it, the 3 Fs. I learned it when I was at school, school at church. One of my young men's leaders gave it to me, the 3 Fs in family, footy and faith, and sort of placing them in my way. And where I place it is faith, family, then footy. Sort of if I leave it in that category, then everything in my life is just flowing. But as soon as one of them's out, it sort of stuffs up, and I can get things wrong. And and I'm still to this day, I'm still trying to always, every day, it never stops.
So you haven't got a PA like Cliff?
I think you guys might know. I think you guys might know him. You know David Lakisa?
Oh
yeah. He was my youth leader, my young men's.
Dr. David Lakisa.
Sorry, Dave. But yeah, he I owe a lot to him, in terms of my why I'm so present in church, like why the church is big in my life is David. Yeah, like
so Dave was telling the truth. I thought he was joking.
No, I think for me when I was younger, I wasn't the best student at school. Like I found it hard to learn. I was a bit of a class clown and rat bag. I go back to schools now and I'm just like, I apologise to the teachers. When I have to do talks and that there, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm embarrassed of the kid I was, but I'm different now. I'm different. But Dave used to help me in terms of church relating. So he used to relate a lot of things. He'd give me footy analogies. And as soon as he gave me a footy analogy, I'm like, bang, oh yeah, sweet, I got it. Yeah. And those kinds of things have stuck with me my whole life. So yeah. I've told Dave this too. Like he helped me quite a bit as a teenager.
That's me. Dave. And I think, I mean, just to come off the back of that, because when we were talking on the phone, and you mentioned something to me which I thought was really powerful, as we were talking about well-being and just life and stuff. And then you said to me, Cliff, I would call myself a few other things before I'd even call myself a footy player.
Yeah.
Is that a bit of where this comes from? And what do you mean by that?
I sort of like it too. I don't really get to talk like this around the boys and that, like, because I don't like to put my beliefs and everything on people. Like, if you want to know a bit more, you got to ask me. Yeah. Like, I'm not one. It's just always been me in that way. But yeah, talking about this kind of stuff is I get a little kick out of it because I don't really get to speak about it much unless it's to people at church or my wife and kids and that. But yeah, like in terms of, I like being called. Yeah, not that I get sick of it, but like a lot of people, Dallin, he's the footballer. Yeah, like it's sort of like for me, I'm so many more things than just a footballer. Like that, I'd rather be called. Like for example, my kids calling me dad. Like love it. Like
it's a part of your life.
Yeah. Like special. Like I love like people that associate because it is a big part of my life, football and. I know that people recognize me because of football, not because of the other things. But yeah, there's a lot more, even to all the boys downstairs than that. Like we're a lot more other things than just footy players. Like footy is just what people see that we do, but the things that they don't get to see is like, we are fathers. We are like I'm still a little kid myself. Like I'm trying to stay as young as possible. Like playing those games keeps me young. But yeah,
bro, like speaking our language, man. I'm pulling hammies, getting out of bed. You wait till you're 40, bro. I'm usually at church and had callings like Dave Lakisa's calling. I've been a part of those kind of like for kids now, right? And I find those kinds of things enjoyable. Awesome, bro.
One thing about footy that I like, it gives you sort of a foot in the door with people, like to be able to chat and get to know you, and then. Whether they want to keep their foot in the door or not, but
that's why it's more than a game, eh?
So they shut the door on my face.
That's cool, man. And so, because I'll talk a little bit about that stuff outside of footy in a moment.
Yeah.
But I think what would be a nice segue to it is you obviously make your NRL debut.
Yeah.
What was that like? Talk to us. What was going on up here?
Yeah.
Here when that's happening.
Yeah, for me, I remember running out and I'm just like, because everything happened so fast. I remember running out for my debut and I'm like, bro, how did I get here? Like, because I wasn't playing footy on Sundays. My parents, probably till when it got probably under 15s, my parents sort of gave me the decision. Like they were making decisions up for me up till then, in terms of playing like such footy on a Sunday and that. And then they gave the decision to me like. Do you want to do it? It's up to you. Like, what do you reckon? I was like, oh, I don't know. Should I? And I eventually did. And and then they said, but if you do, you're going to have to give it a good crack. Like, don't be just going and doing it if you're not going to make anything out of it. Sure. So I was like, oh, yeah. So I put all my eggs into one basket kind of thing. I was like, I have to make it. I'm sort of.
How old were you?
Yeah, I was 15 at the time. And then sort of 15, I made Harold Matts, and the year after that, SG Ball. And the year after that, 20s, and then the year after that was grade. Like I played a couple of games of cup, and then I played grade. So when I ran out onto the field, I was like, fire out, that's gone so fast. Like from the day when I was like, okay, I need to make something out of this because my parents are sort of making me make decisions. It was easy when they were doing it. But yeah, when I ran out on the field, I was like, man, because I felt like I had to grow up pretty fast too. Like, I was talking about how I don't keep in contact. As much as I'd like to with my mates from schools because we were all 18 at the time, or I didn't get to be a normal 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like my mates were like 28-year-olds, 30-year-olds. Like, I was hanging out with Nigel Plum, Brent Kite. So, man, I used to play on the PlayStation. And now I'm hanging out with them.
Crazy,
so, like I had to grow up pretty quick. But yeah, I didn't think it was going to come that early. And then I was hoping maybe like I might get a game when I'm 22 and be like, oh, yes, I did it. And then, but yeah, when I got told, it was crazy. I was like, oh, man, because it was on April Fool's Day as well. True. So I actually said to Ivan.
Was it a joke? Are you serious?
Yeah. I actually said to Ivan, I was like, it's April Fool's Day. And he's like, oh, no, I didn't even know it was April Fool's Day. You're playing this week. And I was like, what the heck's going on? So yeah, that was definitely when I ran out, I was like, it was pouring down rain. All my family took up like one whole bay. Yep. It was at Penrith. And yeah, I was just thinking, man, this happened so fast.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned your parents, and we kind of, we go around to clubs and talk about, parents putting pressure on their kids, and I think that's awesome what your parents, how your parents kind of told you, if you could ever go all in, because I know we see some parents that kind of force, I don't know, maybe they force their kids to play sports or rugby league. We see it in the past, and I think that's one of the downfalls for some of them, even though in the pressures that come with it. Do you reckon your parents, was there some things that your parents did that you think, look back now, because you're a parent now,
they
did well?
I think, one thing with my parents, they never forced us to do anything.
Yeah.
But they said if we picked it, and we wanted to do it, don't waste it.
Go all in.
Yeah. So my dad's big thing, he wanted to send us to private schools, and I wasn't the best student at school. Like, my grades were bad. And he worked his butt off to send us to those schools. Right. So anytime my report card came, he'd be angry at me because he's like, man, like you're wasting this opportunity. And I think that's one thing sort of that my dad's sort of given me is when the opportunity comes, you got to take it, and not muck around with it. I think that's really, and my dad's work ethic, like he's a hard worker and doesn't complain. And I think that's one thing that I'm so grateful that they sort of put into me. But yeah, the opportunities don't come around. So because me and my brother played NRL, but I got my sisters had a business, my brother's got a business, and he's sort of big on if you're going to give it a crack, go for it. Don't be going half-hearted. Yeah. Otherwise you won't get it. I think, but they've never forced us. So whatever we've wanted to do, they were like, all right, and they've given you the confidence to do it. You can do it.
Support, eh?
Well, my mum always says, oh, I knew we were going to play NRL when you were 10 years old. I was like, Mum, come on.
She's a good mum, eh?
Yeah, she goes, that's why I changed. That's why.
She's praying for you, that's why.
Because, Watene is my mum's last name.
Oh.
Yep. So I had that story about where my Zelezniak comes from, but my dad told my mum to do the papers, to fill them out.
Yep. Oh,
so she went and did all the papers, and my dad got home and he's like, the heck, all the kids have your name in it. And she's like, oh yeah, and then my mum always gets back, I knew one of my kids was going to play NRL. So I had to make sure Watene was in there.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
grandpa.
Yeah, and especially for my quarter too, she goes, I needed my dad's name there.
Yeah, I get it, man, I get it.
And yeah, we were like, that's my mum. Like she just does things like that.
It's cool, bro.
Yeah.
It's cool. And so you're at Penrith, and then you obviously spend a bit of time with the doggies as well.
Yeah.
And so the question I want to ask there is, what was that like? Did you find that a challenge to leave Penrith, to transition to another club? And, and obviously we'll talk about you finding your way here.
Yeah.
But what was that like for you? Was that a challenge at all, or?
Yeah, it was hard. I didn't want to leave. It was sort of, I felt like I needed to leave as well. We were having some family issues away from footy that was sort of, when I was playing some bad football, I was, like I said, the things, those 3Fs weren't in place. And
sure.
Outside of football, some personal stuff with our family went on. And then I sort of, the only way I sort of thought I could get out of it was, and then I wasn't playing good at footy. It wasn't Penrith's fault. I look back now, and to be honest, Ivan and that was just trying to help me. And then, it just turned out I left and didn't want to, but sort of I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason. So I went to the doggies, and I was and then when I went to the doggies and I sort of just started spiraling. I was like, oh man, like I was playing some of the worst football I've ever played in my life, like since the age of 3. Like I was like, man, what's going on with me? And Gus always spoke to us when we were at Penrith, like when your best days are behind you, it's probably time to hang your boots up. And I was at the Bulldogs, and I was like, oh yeah, I think my best days are behind me. Like,
but you were pretty young still then, eh? Like,
yeah, I was 20.
You're still young now.
I was 24.
Yeah.
And I was done. Like I was talking to my wife, and I was like, babe, I think I'm just gonna.
What did you do to turn it around?
So she knew I was struggling because I was coming home, and I was like, I'd go straight to my room, jump on the game, because for me, I play game a lot, but it takes my mind away from things because all I have to focus on is that one thing at a time. And I was getting home. I was say, hey, like, and I was taking it home too to my wife and kids. And when I look back at it now, I was like, man, what was I thinking? Like, what was I doing? But I would go into my room. I'd just sit on the game. Then I'd go to sleep, wake up, go to training, and then come back, game. And then that's what I was doing. At the time, you look back now and you're like, man, that's why I was spiraling. Like, but at the time, that's sort of what I knew was going to help me.
Yeah.
And then, I was going out each week and I was just doing stuff. Like, I was like, man, what the hell's wrong with me? I was copping messages of fans and people messaging me online and this and that. Like, you hear about all the stories, everyone getting messages these days. To be honest, I don't know why people do it, but because it actually does. Yeah. Well, doesn't affect me now, but back then when I had never had it before, it was my first encounter with it. It affected me pretty bad.
Right.
And then when I was talking to my wife, I was like, oh, yeah, I think I'm done. Like, I'm going to go talk to my dad. I'm going to go work with my dad. And then she booked me a mind coach because I didn't believe in talking to people and that.
Right,
like, I was like, oh, no, that's not me. Like, I learned that as a kid, like, sort of, you just deal with your problems on your own, kind of. And until that point, I thought I was doing a good job of dealing with my problems on my own. And then my wife, I got home one day, my wife goes, oh, your appointment's at 6 p.m. I paid this amount of money for it. It's up to you if you want to do it or not. And so I was like, oh, put me on the spot. I was like, why'd you do that for? So I went in and I did my first session. I came out and I just hugged my wife. I go, thanks, exactly what I needed. Wow. And I've been with him. I've been for 3 years now. Like,
good on you, bro. It's awesome.
And I swear by it now. Well, after my first session, I came out. I told my wife booked me another 6 sessions because I had a 6-session week. After my first session, I was like, book me another 6 weeks. So I said, I'm gonna.
Wow.
This guy's exactly what I need,
bro. Man, like the fact that you shared that, like the courage to share it, like man, that's powerful, bro. Because I think a lot of people will feel whakapapa like as well. Like, oh man, I don't want to talk about my stuff. Yeah. And if I do, is there really something wrong with me?
Yeah, because sorry, you go. I definitely know that people have grown up a little bit like how where you're just you deal with your problems and like don't throw your problems on other people. But even now, I haven't opened up completely, but I'm starting to pretty much have but when I first started, I was sort of just dripping it in, and then the more I trusted, I was like, oh, he's actually helping me out. Then I started giving him more, and he pretty much I think he knows me more than my own family do. And But yeah, it's probably I swear by it. Like if anyone's out there thinking, oh, maybe I should do it because like I remember I heard people saying that, like you'd have people come talk to you and then are like, oh, talk about your problems. It's good. It's good. Yeah. But you sort of don't get to see the impact unless you do it yourself.
Yeah. Do it. And sometimes we always say we hear someone talk like that in a room because we do it, and then boys look at each other like, oh, you're not me, but maybe. Yeah. You're like, I'm good. I don't need to.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, bro, like the fact that, and we all need someone to talk to, man. Yeah. Like it helps, just talking about it and learning. Did you have a question?
No, but also that stigma around counselling or whatever.
Yeah.
You say, hey, I'm talking to a counsellor or whatever, are you right? It doesn't mean that you're going through, some stuff. You just want someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And that's why when we go around, I think one of the slogans that we used, it was 8 weeks to speak, and just I think there's one thing knowing that you got a problem and then talking to someone, but then having the tools, having a professional to talk to, then telling you the tools, and I think it helped out. So big ups to your wife, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's another super wife.
And even on that, I just want to say, it's not even you don't have to talk to someone just because you got a problem either.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, man, I just want to land some of my thoughts and my thinking. Yeah. What I'm doing, like. Yeah. I just want to see what others think about it. It's helpful.
I think a big one too. I remember one of my mates, is couple counselling. Like you might not have like problems or anything, but and I know they definitely didn't. And he said that he went there and it was just like it was cool to see where you guys are at. Like I'm still sort of working. I'm like, oh, babe, I don't really want to talk something about our life.
Counsel. Couple.
But my mum's a counsellor. Yeah.
Oh, true.
Yeah, my mum's a counsellor. She tries to do all the stuff on me.
Hey,
she does it even you don't even know. You don't know.
I said, how did you become a counsellor? You need a counsellor.
Your mum's awesome, man.
Yeah, so my mum, and she tried to get like, but there's, when your parents talk to you and your wife talks to you, like, it's different, like, because you feel like they're always coming from a biased point of view. But when you get someone that doesn't know you, and then there's a professional who knows what he's doing, it's not saying they're pretty much saying the same thing my wife and my parents are saying, but they just because they're not coming from a bias, like you don't think it's actually actually helps.
Yeah, I think of it a bit like a warrant of fitness for your car, right? You don't go get a warrant of fitness because the car's broken necessarily. Yeah, but you get a warrant of fitness to check that everything's still in working order. Yeah. And that it's still safe to drive. Yeah, it doesn't have to be broken to have a warrant. Yeah, it's just got to be safe enough to drive. Yeah. And I think that's a bit like whether it's relationships, and you talk about your friends that went to a relationship. You know, it doesn't mean the relationship's broken. We're just checking where we're at. We're talking to someone to say, hey, are we still in a good place, and where can we improve? Yeah. And what might be on the radar that we're not seeing that we just need to tweak so we don't get into more trouble. Yeah. You know, like really, really powerful stuff. So, bro, the fact that you talk about it here and some of that, like, really awesome and really helpful, I know, for those people that would listen and watch this. I want to jump to, before we talk about the whys, jump to your debut because we've got to talk about it, man. New Zealand Rugby League, you debut for the Kiwis, but not only do you debut for the Kiwis, you captain and young. Yeah. Like, man, talk to us about what it was like to play for your country and then to captain the Kiwis.
Did you lead the haka too?
No, I didn't lead it. That was too nerve-wracking. Far out. Chuck that on top, man. What it does is it was shaking the legs. Have a fit out there. But yeah, my debut came like I had sort of some I made it in 2014 to the Four Nations, and then Mooks pulled me aside, and I thought I was just going there as a development, like, you know, a young kid goes there. I was 19 at the time. I just turned, was I 18? No, I just turned 19, and then I went on the Four Nations with the team, and then I just thought I was there for a development player, like, oh, yeah, it's leading me into the camp, because I was actually hoping to make the junior Kiwis that year, and I was like, seeing the list, it didn't come out. I was like, damn it, what the flip? I played in a row. How did I not make that team? And then Mooks called me and goes, oh, no, you're coming with us this year. And I was like, what the heck? Wow. I just acted cool. I was like, yeah, sweet. So put the phone down, and I was like, oh. But yeah, I ended up going on to the Four Nations, and then I remember training, and that Manu was sitting out, and I was just like, oh, he must be injured. I'm just filling in for him. And then Mooks came over to me after, and he goes, oh, you're going to make your debut this week for the Kiwis? And I was like, I tried to play cool again. Yeah. And I was just like, man, what the heck's going on? Like I said, how it went so fast from when I really wanted to give it a good crack. And then we went to the beach for recovery after that session, and I was just going, like, we're doing beach recovery. I went over a little wave, and I put my foot down, and I broke my foot. Like on a, I hit at the surface, it goes out, and there's a little dip, and I put my foot on that, and I snapped my foot. And I was like, man, I wanted to cry. I was like, far out, what the heck have I done? And they gave me till captain's run to get it ready, but then I went and got an extra on captain's run, and it showed that I had to get surgery and chuck a screw on that in there. But yeah, that sort of stopped my still to this day, 2014 is probably my favourite year. I debuted, made the Kiwis, and
just got to call you LeBron. Straight from skip to JK's, went straight to the Kiwis.
Far out. It was just, it went so fast, and even it was happening so fast. Even my parents were like, man, what the heck's like? This is awesome. And my wife now was my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, far out, man. I have to get married soon. What's it called? And then, I didn't play that Four Nations, and then came to the next year, and I made that Anzac test. And then I was in camp, we were playing, and Books hopped on the mic on the bus and said, oh, boys, there's been a bit of a mishap with the team. Dad won't be playing this week. He's been suspended for 1 week. And then I was sitting on the bus. I was like, he's trying to get me from last year. And I was laughing at that. And he goes, no, you're actually suspended for 1 week. And I was like, what? What do you mean? I didn't even get put on report. But apparently there was a penalty and the match review committee watched it. It wasn't put on report or anything. And then they suspended me for 1 week.
Where do they do that, eh?
Yeah, it suspended me for 1 week. And I was like, I thought it was like, even now I'm just like, how'd that even happen?
That was April's Fool's Day.
Yeah, I was like, far out. So yeah, I didn't play that game. So that was my second go. And then
2 knockbacks.
There was a tour at the end of that year and I had my lung collapse, so I didn't get to go on that. And so the next year came, in 2016, was the Anzac test again. And then I made it into the team and I remember, like, well, Newcastle, I'd go to training, I'd come back, sit in my room. And then the boys went to the beach for a recovery session. And I sat on the chair and I watched them all do their recovery, came back, went to my room. I was just bubble wrapped the whole week.
Yeah, right.
And then we went out and I was like, I remember standing out singing the anthem and I was sort of like, a couple tears came down there and I was like, man, finally. It's
happening.
I can't get injured now. I'm about to play. So yeah, that was my journey to my Kiwis debut. It was crazy. And then we ended up getting pumped that game too. I still have nightmares of
resilience, man. There's determination.
Still have nightmares of Semi-Red Raja running down that side. Straight on my head. And I think it was him, Greg Inglis. I think it was Thurston.
It's an edge, bro.
Kronk and that playing too. Cameron Smith was hooker, so I was out on my wing. Who's kicking the ball? Who's kicking the ball? But yeah, that was and that was a massive. I remember my family coming up. We got a house and that up there, like Airbnb, and all the family came up. And were watching, and I remember my wife and her family too. I think we had been married for a year then, and everyone they sort of broke down for me too because they were with me on that journey of getting knocked back after knockback after knockback. But it sort of made it bittersweet. Like when it did come, I was like, it made it even better.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, that was my journey to the Kiwis, cool. And then
And so from there, you know, at some point you become Kiwis captain quite young as well.
Yeah, Madge took us on that 2018 tour to Denver.
Yep.
And then he said to the boys before the game, before the tour, he goes, all right, boys, I'm not naming anyone captain, but I'm picking my captain that's going to go forward from this game.
Yeah.
And I was 22 at the time, and all us young boys went in one ear out the other, and we were like, oh, he's not talking to us. And then I sort of just went about my week and how I do things, and he rang me after that, just before the tour at the end of the year in 18, and he rang me because he spoke to me on the bus about being in the leadership team. He goes, I just want some young fellas in there. And I was even then being in the leadership team, I was like, oh, are you sure? Like, I said, I will if you want me to, if you think I'm up for it. But I said, there's a lot of boys that have been there, done that before me. And then he rang me before that tour and he goes, hey, Dale, like, you still keen on being in that leadership group? And I said, oh, yeah, Madge, I sort of, come to terms with it now. Like, oh, yeah, I'm keen. Like, I just want to learn off the older boys too and how they do things and leading in that. And then he said to me, he goes, what do you think about leading that leadership team? And I was like, oh, what do you mean? He goes, I want you to captain this tour. Mm-hmm. And then my wife was in the car at the time, so he was on loudspeaker. And my kids were in the back and we were like, shh, like, the coach is on the phone. And then I remember just going quiet and I just looked at my wife and I was like, did he just say what I think he said? And my wife was like, yeah, you got to answer him. And I said no at first.
Right.
Yeah.
Because? Can I ask why?
Yeah. So I said no to him. I go, oh, Madge, I know there's boys that have been around the Kiwis for a long time that have been there and done things that I'm still yet to do.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think like it's a good look if I do. And then he goes, oh no, don't say no. Like he goes, just have a sleep on it, think about it. But he goes, just so you know, he goes, I knew you would say that. But I spoke to the older boys and they all reckon that you're the perfect man for it. And I was like, I think he's just saying that. And so I was like, oh, can I? They're like, I'll give you an answer later on. And then I spoke to my wife about it. I spoke to my parents. My mum, as soon as I told my mum, was like, yep, I always knew you. Ever since the age of 10. Since you were 10. You were meant for this. So I knew what their answers were. And I spoke to Gus, and Gus, my dad actually said was on my wavelength of like, oh, you ready for this, son? Like, it's a big thing. Like there's boys that, and that's what I said to Madge as well. Like how are you supposed to talk or tell someone that's been there? And he goes, and that's I think what helped me too. He goes, "You're not there to do that."
Yeah.
He goes, "You just need to do what you've been doing."
Yeah.
And I think for me that helped heaps. And but yeah, going back to, and I spoke to my coach at the time. I think Cyril was our coach, and they were all really happy, and they wanted me to take it as well. So I rang Madge back and I said, the only way I'm doing this is if like all the boys are on board. I said I can't can't do this if everyone's on board. And yeah, all the boys were, and I remember when Madge announced to the boys were happy for me, jumping up and down.
Awesome, bro.
But yeah, we used to, because we used to laugh like in some meetings and that where a captain was being picked, and then like they'd pick like Bully or someone, and then we were like us young boys like, oh damn it, I thought it was going to be me. And then like that's why it was so crazy when that meeting came, because none of the boys knew, and then they looked at me and they're like, whoa. Remember we used to joke about that?
So my question is, Del, what do you think it was that he saw in you when you look back?
Oh, he that's what I asked him, and he said to me that just the way I go about things is where he wanted us to be as a team,
right?
And I think it was just everyone knows I'm pretty strong in my church. I don't drink, smoke, party, I'm pretty much where my family is. I am like I love to play games. Like any spare time I get, I'm on my games, trying to feel as young as possible. But yeah, I think he's seen that, like that's where he wanted us to not get to, but be a part of our culture. Like moving forward, like we're not just going on tours to booze up and drink. We're actually going to do a job, and if we win, then that comes. Like so yeah, that's what he spoke to me about, and
nice.
He spoke to me about just the way I carried myself off the field was a big reason why, and on the field too, and in terms of like I don't know, like he was talking about like my carries at a yard, is like the way it influences, like all those little things.
Footy stuff as well.
Footy stuff, So he had obviously thought about it a lot, and but to be honest, my first answer was like, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So what do the young boys say? Hey, remember us?
Yeah. So now when I remember talking to the boys that were all the young boys, I was like, hey, you guys have to call me Skip. I was like,
carry my bags,
name's
mate.
not Dallin anymore.
See the front of the bus, eh?
But it's interesting you say that, bro. I mean, I know from my own context different, but coming through, some younger and through some leadership roles, I've seen a lot of other people at a young age, you can see that leadership's on them and that reluctance, like, man, sure, is it really me?
Yeah.
And I think, but what we find is that when we can find that courage to step into it, we tend to find, what's in us, but we also prove some of that trust to be right, that there are things there that, and we all know we've got to grow. Yeah. We all know we've got things to work on. I remember one thing my dad, said to me when I was really young, coming through in one of my very first leadership roles. My father said to me, I was like, oh, Dad, I don't know. My dad said, son, we're all like tea bags. You don't know what you're made of till you're placed in hot water, And it's so true, isn't it? Yeah. It's not till there's a bit of pressure or a bit of expectation, then let's find out what your flavour is. Let's find out what's in you. Let's find out what you're made of. And I think the great ones need a bit of that. We need to be placed in, or they need to be placed in some trying times to figure it out. So you go from that, bro. That all happens. Awesome. Represent our country. You find your way to the Warriors.
Yeah.
Right? You come back to New Zealand, being part of the Wars. What has that been? And again, shout out to One NZ for giving us the space and the partnership here. But what does that mean to you to be back here and be playing for the Warriors and being home and then actually physically being home too? Because I think you joined the team during the time they were transient.
We were in we were at Central Coast and then moved to Gold Coast. Yeah. So I joined the team then. But I remember, growing up in Aussie, you don't think like you can play for the Warriors because you got to live in Aussie. You can't live in NZ. So never really come to the table with when I've come up to, mind you, I never came up to that time where I could negotiate with other clubs. I was always making sure I was always
Penrith.
Penrith was always the team, and then went to the Doggies, and then when Doggies started shopping me around, I didn't know.
Right.
And then when I was told, and my manager was looking for clubs, there was a few clubs that I was thinking of going. I was trying to make a decision, and then Warriors came late, and then as soon as I was like, what the heck, the Warriors? Like, So yeah, I'm going there. Like, I didn't even look at the cash or anything. Like, and then like when everything calmed down, I was like, obviously, like I had a wife and kids I had to look after. But I remember going to my dad. My dad's a diehard since 1995 as well. And I remember I told my dad, I was like, I guess he just come to the table and want me to play, go there. Is the Warriors, and then he's like, "Yep, you got to go there."
Yeah,
he goes, "That's the team, son."
Since you were 10,
your dad's the man. Your dad's the man, bro.
Well, my mum didn't want me to. She's like, "No, you can't go there because
true.
means you're going to be away."
Yeah.
And my mum always likes to keep all of us kids close. And then when I seen the Warriors, I was like, "Yeah, you know what?" I said, and I spoke to my wife about it. My wife was keen too because we want to take the kids back and sort of learn a bit where I was from. And they don't look like they're from New Zealand, my kids, but it's definitely in them. And we were still wanting to give them a little bit of upbringing here.
Nice.
To the point now, my wife's loving it. We might could be home for us after footy as well if I'm lucky enough to stay here long enough. And so I ended up telling my manager, this is definitely the place I want to go. So we moved to Central Coast, and and all that stuff happened, and we didn't get to come back here last year. But like I said, wherever my family is sort of home for me, so we got to experience Redcliffe for a little bit. Kids loved it, and we got back here, and just these last few months since November we've been here. Yeah, we loved it. We got up north yesterday, and to the point where my wife looking at we want to sort of not set up shop, but
can see yourself possibly.
We could it could be back here, but again, like it depends where the kids are and that what they're doing. But if it was right now, would be definitely wanting to live here for a long time. Yeah,
nice, bro. And then so we talk specifically about some of the things that help the culture.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're travelling well at the moment.
Yeah.
What would you say you'd put it down to a couple of key things that, because you've been around a couple of clubs and you've seen what success looks like. Yeah. What do you think contributes to that success? I mean, we're not talking about just results. That comes off the back of a number of things. But in terms of culture.
Yeah, I think for me, like when I was coming back from injury, team was doing so well, and I played game in New South Wales Cup, and it just shows our depth, and whoever's going to step into the role is going to do a job, and whoever's out of that role is going to have to work hard to get back into it. I think that's going to be. We've had a lot of players in and out this year, but we're still winning games, and my personal view is that like we're all buying into you got to earn it, and it's not just given to you. And if you do your job well, and you do your role well, Webby talks about it. If we just do our role individually, that it goes a big way to winning the game. And I think that's showing. We're still not at our best though.
No, sure.
But it's definitely one thing is whoever's stepping into the role. You can say depth is probably a big one, but also spoke about it before, the confidence you get from the game plan and the build up that the coaches give us going into a game. You actually like given the confidence, we can beat these guys. Whereas you should be going into every game no matter what, thinking you can beat these guys. But you're definitely going in this year that knowing that if we execute our game plan and we play to the best of our ability in the position we are and nail our role, we'll win the game. That's sort of...
And that all filters into that trust and belief stuff. That confidence comes because not just the game plan, but the number of people that are singing from the same song sheet and everyone's believing and buying in.
Yeah, and you get to highlight, they highlight the good things that we're doing, and then they highlight the bad things we're doing too, which shows us that we still got a long way to grow, but we're doing things well, just not long enough. So
is there something that, Webby, as a coach, is he doing different than probably the past, I guess?
I feel like Webby's he's given his clarity around things, but it's black and white. Like if you do something wrong, you know what's happened, what broke down, and instead of getting to video the next day after the game and be like, this is what we should have done. Yeah. You can be on the field and be like, all right, boys, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. You know what to fix. You can do that on the run.
Yeah.
And I think he's built a lot of resilience in us too. I think our goal line D, especially on the weekend as well, was really good. Yeah. I think and that's giving us confidence as well, knowing that we're always going to stuff. Like no team's perfect in that, but yeah, like all the stuff that I'm talking about now is exactly what Webby talks to us about. Yeah. So like you've been in meetings before where he's talking about these things, like the way we start a game. There's like we're not going to be perfect. Everyone's chasing perfection, but if we can have the D to back up our mistakes, then we're pretty much gonna do well.
Nice,
that's cool.
But I think his clarity around things and how clear he is and
helps.
In each of our roles, like I know exactly what I need to do for the team and how I can contribute to the win. And if I don't get that right, then it can tug on that a bit.
And it's also the open door, kind of policy where it sounds like coaches say that, but he means it.
Yeah.
And so I feel that when I'm around there, the boys are not shy or some of the young boys, you can tell that they're pretty
happy to talk about
happy to talk to some because of what he.
Yeah, you can get it, and you get along with him. He's easy to talk to. He's probably one of the most approachable coaches I've ever been a part of.
And that's what builds the trust too, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
He can have a laugh. He can be serious. Like
Nice.
And I think it comes back to that thing you said there, clarity. Yeah. Right, clear about when it's time to do it, when it's time to switch on, what we're doing, how we do it, all that sort of stuff. But I'm gonna bring us home now. I'm gonna sort of tear us toward the tail end with a couple of questions. The first one is, what do you think is one of the greatest challenges for some of our athletes today in high performance? What are some one or two things that you feel are, just some things that are big challenges for?
Like what, like for
space?
Me or for
for yourself, or that you see and observe across the board.
I think challenge for me is balance.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people have that, like is balancing things because your life gets pretty hectic in footy. This family member wants a bit of you. This one wants a bit of you. Your wife and your kids want like a lot of you, and
Cliff wants you for a podcast.
Yeah, so like balancing things is something that I'm still working on now. Like, like I said, like making sure my my 3 Fs are in place. Like balancing. Yeah, I think for me, like a lot of people, you don't want to upset someone, or you don't want to upset your parents. Like sometimes you have to. Not be the bad guy, but sort of, I wish I was a bit more stern as a kid. Like, I'm sort of learning that now in the back end, but it's a lot harder now because sort of created who I am and that. And when you do it now, everyone's like, oh, he's changed.
You wanted to say no to Cliffy?
Yeah.
Hey, this guy, man.
Yeah, but and you get that like, oh, he's changed. Like, oh, I would have changed this guy. Like, oh, now that he's playing so-and-so, he's doing well. Like, he just changed. But I think, if you sort of hit that on the head at the start of your career, some people might get angry at you, but balance, definitely. Like,
nice, bro.
Trying to prioritize what you need to. I think, that's one thing I've really found. Found hard.
Challenge.
Yeah, still finding it hard now. Like, trying to say no. Like,
we all are doing it, man. It's a challenge for everyone.
But I think the fact that you're talking about it, you recognise it. Like it gives us all something to work on and say, well, how do we do it? And how do the old saying, no is a complete answer.
Yeah, you're sort of in a position where you want to like help people, you want to do things, but then at the same time, like the only people that are suffering are probably my wife and kids because football is so demanding. Like, and it pulls me away from. I'm not complaining about it. Like, it's it does put food on the table for us and everything, but still, my kids need their father around a bit. So,
and I think, like you said, right back, that's a part of your life. It's not all of your life.
Yeah.
Right? And you've got many other things that you have to balance and are important as well. And like your brother, I think if you continue to maintain those 3 Fs, I'm sure that as much as you can, that's probably some of the answer and the solution to the balance problem.
A lot of people see us like getting a lot of time off, but to be honest, you know what our schedule is like, man. Like we're pretty full days, and when we do get to like, you like to switch off, and because towards the end of the week, coming to a game, the pressure is going to be a lot more at the end of the week. So
100%.
You'd know, Ali, like. But
nothing rattles him, man.
But one story about Have you ever played rugby League 1 on the PlayStation?
No.
I have.
You saved a lot of arguments with me and my brothers.
This guy was the man in that
Yeah.
game, eh?
No.
Yeah, he'd
Just
bump
give him
off
the
half
ball.
the team. Like,
It's like if you ever played Journalomi Rugby
Yeah.
and you can unlock that team of all Journalomi players,
yeah.
that's like what it was playing with you in that game,
Yeah.
bro.
I
You just
wish I
give you
was-
the
I
ball.
wish I was like that on the
If I
field,
was-
but I wasn't.
Yeah. If I was down on like in the game, I'm like, I'm gonna give it to Ali.
Give us that.
You know, bump,
Wow, man.
fend off the fullback try.
What do they say? Life imitating
Well, I'll
art.
show you lunch, man. I'll show you lunch.
I'm
Art
telling you,
imitating
man.
life. Nah. Hey, bro, just leading us to the end now. Show's called Find Your Front.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the different ways that Dal keeps him or tries to keep himself well and keep going forward. But what would you say, bro? One or two things that you could give as a takeaway or ways that you find your front? What helps you be well?
For me, it's my church. I sort of what they teach is sort of everything well-being kind of thing. So like, so yeah, if I'm ingrained in that and doing everything that they've advised me to do, then pretty much I'll find my front all the time.
Nice.
And yeah, anything with my family, like, man, if it's at the park, if it's at home eating dinner, like, pretty invested in my wife and 3 kids. So
Nice. Bro.
that's definitely like, if times are getting rough,
Yep.
they're the ones who will roll me onto my front.
Nice.
Like that one.
I do. I like that one. And number 3 is have a sweet mullet. Nah, bro. Hey, look, Ali, is there any final words from you or thoughts?
Nah, thank you so much, man. Love hearing your story, how you overcome, and also, highlighting that if things off the field and family are not well, then it's hard to perform, and that's for all of us, eh? So thank you so much for being vulnerable, and bless you in the for this week's game. So thanks once again, brother.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
And
having
from me, bro, again, just thank you for your time, bro. Thank you for your openness, your sense of humor as well, your willingness. You're always a good yarn, bro. And we just not only love seeing you out there and doing your thing for the Warriors, but also as a Kiwi, that represents us. But man, more importantly, as a family guy, a father, a husband, and as a man of faith, like, good on you, bro. It's really, really powerful to see. So we appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
That's
Thank
us.
you.
Find your front.
Roll them over.